Can I have one done tonight? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Sermon Jazz Bishop. I'm here to give you a little short news and a word on tonight. Um, we're gonna talk about the hostages. Hasman had left 17 more hostages released, and that's good. Who can say prayers work? Prayers really do work. Hasman had released 17 more hostages, including 13 the Israel full citizen. Now it's the second group of captivity to be free, an agreement that includes 4 day truce between Israel and Hasman. Because for Thanksgiving he had released some, and he released some again today. So the hostages were transfigured by the International Red Cross through the border, crossing the Gaza into Egypt, where they was headed to the Israel authority. So remember yesterday I was saying Red Cross is there helping them out. So that's their good thing. And they brought them to the hospital yesterday to see if they all was okay. So it's understood that 39 prisoners had held in Israel are being released in return for the latest hostage being free. So thank God he let 17 more hostages released, still waiting on American uh, to be released. So that was good. So today was 17 more hostages released. I'll be heading on to their family. But we still waiting on Americans to be released. So that's a blessing that 17 more was out safely. So we're gonna talk about the voting rights. The eliminating voting rights act. In section 2. So it's an attack on voting rights act. Threaten African American vote protection. That's the main civil rights that we have. To depend or guarantee on. So a federal appeal code has threatened to the Voting Rights Act by eliminating the most powerful piece of Section 2. Now, which allow private citizens to sue in the name of the fair voting rights. So it's gonna be hard for us to sue because they're eliminating Voting Rights Act. So as a decision to appeal to the Supreme Court. Now, Right Act, Voting Right Act, was enticed as a tool meant to undo the political hold on Jim Crow policy in the South and relative discrimination. Now, the structure nationwide, Congress adopted the law to ensure that states follow the 15th Amendment, guarantee that the right to vote not to be denied because of race. So under the 15th Amendment is guaranteed right to vote, and not to be denied. So the law fundamental open political opportunity for black and brown community, to participate in system on an equal basis. Now we're gonna look at Section 5. Section 5 of the law required with a history of discrimination to attain approval from the Department of Justice. Court before changing voting rules and process known as pre-clearance. So we're gonna look at Section 2. So the law allowed people to sue either on their own behalf or with the assistance of the Justice Department to undo existing law and procedures that would deny equal political opportunity to vote to elect their candidate of the choice. However, these protections have been errored by a recent Supreme Court decision. So you're eliminating the Voting Right Act, in Section 2. All that guarantee all African Americans to vote have the right to vote, not to be denied because of the race, making it hard to sue. So we won't be able to sue if we have any kind of problem because they're taking a man's source away the Voting Rights Act. in section 2. Now, it's a problem, for voters that we need all to vote. So now we need Voting Rights Act to remain so all African American have the right to vote and not be denied. So this is the main civil rights act that we have to guarantee us to vote. So I request Voting Rights, Act to remain. That's the main source right there. So we can have voting rights, act to be eliminated. So that's the main thing we need. So if we ever try to sue, it's gonna be hard for us to sue with voting rights act is being eliminated. We won't be able to use it. So we need voting rights act to remain. We need it to remain because we need everyone, to come out and vote. And this gonna be a standstill for a lot of people who cannot vote. So we can't have that to be eliminated. We need Voting Rights Act. We also gonna need Section 2. So that's on the voting rights, and we talked about 17 more houses was released. So I do have a word for you. Now Jesus is transfigured on the mountain. So it's going to come from Mark chapter 9, verse 1 through 13. Now, the transformation of Jesus is ever described where Jesus is transfigured, and become radiant in glory upon the mountain. So he said to them, truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see that the kingdom of God has come with power. So he's saying some of the disciples, they will not taste of that, until they see the power of God. Because see, sometimes you'll see, sometimes you will not go nowhere until you see the goodness of God. So Jesus said, some of y'all will not taste death. Because we know Elijah got shoot up in the sky. And then you had another prophet got shoot up. So did have some of the prophets did not see a taste of death. So now Jesus has said some of the disciples will not see death until they see the power of God. So Mo go on telling a story in Transfiguration that Peter, James, and John saw Jesus glorified as the Son of God. So he gonna take 3 people with him, for a witness. So after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him to lay them up on a high mountain, where they were all alone, and there he was, true figure before them. You see everything Jesus do, he had to have witness, to close to his mission. So this is not this is before his resurrection. So he needs trying to tell them about what's gonna happen. But he still needs them to have witness to identify Jesus. So we don't know why he picked 3 of his disciples, Peter, James, and John, but these 3 disciples was the anchor circle of the group. Because remember he met Peter. Peter was the first one he met. So they were the first, to hear Jesus call, and they were present at certain healing, while other was excluded. So Jesus had them on a high mountain, maintaining were often associated with closeness to God and readiness to receive His word. Now he already did have those 3 with him, so I guess that's why he picked those 3 to go with him. He had to bring someone with him. So his clothes had became. So Jesus to them, Jesus went on a mountain, and God readiness received his word. Now his clothes become dazzling, white, winter than anyone in the world that could bleach them. So nobody couldn't bleach the color that he was. He was just so bright. That no matter what's anybody else do, they could not uh get the color that he was. So because he said anyone in the world could bleach them, but they still couldn't get the color that he was. His glory, his brightness wished off from his body through his clothes. It made them as bright as the light of the sun. So at noonday he is transfigured with the glory of God. So they had their appearance, before them Elijah and Moses, who was talking with Jesus. Now those two is dead. So he sees them two talking. So there were two witnesses. God has sent two identity, both Moses and Elijah, to represent how Jesus was sacrificed and resurrection was fulfilled. So the requirement, Peter to Jesus, it is good for us to be here. So Peter asked, is it good for us to be here? You be seeing all this light, all this glory stuff. Is it okay for us to be here? So he asked him if it's okay for us to be here. So Peter had said to Jesus, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters. One for you and one for Moses and Elijah. Now he trying to be nice. He trying to put up shelters. So now Peter, James, and John is terrified, and they don't know, what to say. So they're seeing Jesus all whitened with the light. He already on light. He's just so light. And they don't know how long they will be. So Peter had offered to make a tent, a shelter for all 3, Jesus, Moses, and Elijah. Now he didn't know what to say. He just so frightened. She asked him, do you, need anything? So for all three, Jesus, Moses, and Elijah, the visitors deserve a shade from the sun while they are talking. So he did not know what to say. You tell him you talking about you're gonna build a shelter. I mean, you ain't know what to say. You just came up with anything. So they deserved the shade. He did not know what to say, and they was so frightened. Now it's not clear how Peter, James, and John know that Jesus visited of Moses and Elijah. But terror is a standard reaction to seeing those who have come from heaven. But Jesus is a light. So when Paul saw Jesus, the light had blinded his eyes. That's just how bright Jesus is. And remember I told you at the beginning it was just God. And God had spoke, the first word he spoke was light. And see, that's why Jesus, the light of the world, because he just shines so bright. So then a cloud appeared and covered them, and the voice came from the cloud, this is my son, whom I love, and listen to him. So God is giving orders from up in heaven. So remember when Jesus got baptized, he already announced him that this is my son, I'm very pleased. Now, he's saying it again, this is my son. And I mean for y'all to listen to him. He said, listen. So God make himself very clear to the amazing flowers of followers of Jesus. So as important as Elijah and Moses had been to the Jewish people, among them still one who is superior of Jesus. So they should listen to Jesus. And Jesus is the superior teacher, the prophet, hope for the world, the light of the world. So God telling him, I need y'all to listen to my son. He's very smart. He gonna teach you a thing or two. Listen to him. So then a cloud appeared and covered them, and a voice came from the cloud, this is my son whom I love, and Jesus, and listen to him. So God make himself very clear to the amazing followers of Jesus. As important as Elijah and Moses had been to the Jewish people, among them stood one who is superior, Jesus Christ, that God Son and their Lord. They should listen to Jesus. Jesus is the supreme leader, the prophet, the hope for the world. Now transfigure. When God affirmed Jesus as his son, confirming his glory and telling the disciples to listen to him. Now Peter and James and John see a glimpse of Jesus' own true glory. Now God's glory is a reflection on Jesus. Who name and clothes become dazzling white. So this even emphasized in order for man to be made righteous with God. And remember, he tried to do that with Paul. He tried to turn Paul's whole story around. And so sometimes he tried to make you righteous, like he doing with Jesus. Now suddenly when they look around, they no longer saw along with them except Jesus. At first they saw Moses and Elijah of that talking to Jesus. With all the whiteness and the brightness. So when all they had died down, all they saw was Jesus. And Moses and Elijah had disappeared because see, their job was done already. There was the two witnesses, and so their job was done already. So when the light and everything died down, all they saw was Jesus. So they like, what the pictures is that? So now the three disciples are again alone with their master. So Peter had acknowledged that Jesus is the promised Messiah. But the disciples ain't afraid of him. They're not afraid of him, but they're afraid of Moses and Elijah and the glory that surrounds Jesus. So they're afraid when God speaks. See, God was speaking. See, God has spoke. This is my son. I need y'all to listen to him. So the way God must have said it to them, they said, we're not afraid of Jesus. We're afraid of Elijah, Moses, and when God speaks. So God has spoken, told them, I need y'all to listen to my son. So as they was coming down the mountain, Jesus had given an order not to tell anyone. See, Jesus had told them, they saw a great deal. You see what I'm saying? They saw 2 dead people. So Jesus, they was climbing down the mountain. Jesus said, look, I need y'all to don't tell no one. Don't tell no one this said, because y'all just saw 2 dead people talking to Jesus, and everybody gonna wonder how is that possible. So Jesus, I need y'all to don't tell no one what y'all just saw. So Jesus gave them orders not to tell anyone, but they had seen until the Son of Man had raised him from the dead. Now, Jesus telling them, don't tell nobody about none of this or not. Because see, all this supposed to take place after he died and rose back up on the third day. That's what he said, until the man raising from the dead. So when Jesus raised from the dead, then they could tell the story. But until then, they cannot tell the story until the event happened. So on the way down from the mountaintop, experience, Jesus commanded these 3 disciples not to tell anyone, but man be raised from the dead. Now it would not really be understood until after the resurrection, until after, and which would be proof that Jesus was truly the Son of God. See, he's telling them all this stuff now. And so when it do happen, they'll understand. Because see, right now, they don't understand what Jesus talking about right now. You're talking about you're going to be dead, and you can talk about you're going to roll back up. You talk about 2 dead people, and next thing you know, they're gone. So they don't understand anything right now. So that's why Jesus said, you can't say nothing until the event happens. Because right now, they're confused. They're seeing big old white, bright light. Jesus just looks like a light, and then he talking to Elijah and Moses, so they kept the matter to themselves, discussing what raising from the dead men. You see what I'm saying? They don't understand. Not understand. He said, what is he talking about? Raising for the dead. We don't know what that means. We don't know what he's talking about. That's why Jesus said, right now you don't understand. But when the event happened, then you'll understand. So Jesus had told Peter, James, and John not to speak about what this has saw, because they will not fully understand. And they don't. They said, what being dead, what all that meant, because see, they don't understand anything right now. They don't understand. So that's why he said you will not fully understand it until Jesus had raised him for the dead. Then they will realize that only through dying could Jesus, show his power over death and his authority to be king over all. So in their action, why do you teach of the law saying that Elijah must come first? Now he said Elijah must come first. Elijah died in the Old Testament. So they're talking about Elijah supposed to be returning back. He said Elijah gonna come first. So Jesus explained that Elijah was actually John the Baptist. Because see, they kept on saying Elijah coming back, Elijah coming back. And he did came back. He came back in the form of John the Baptist. That's why they used to always ask John, is you Elijah the prophet? And John kept saying no, but all the while, that was Elijah in the form of John the Baptist. So they said Jesus explained that Elijah was actually John the Baptist. The um the situation will be completely clarified when they fully understand that the Messiah's death and resurrection asks for forgiveness of sin. So that's he let them know that's what he doing all this for. So Jesus replies, to be sure Elijah does come first, and restore all things. Why then is it written? So that the Son of Man must suffer. He said it's written that the Son of Man must suffer much and be rejected. So Jesus pretty much was rejected when he was on this earth. He was rejected when he was on this earth. So he had some people love him, he had some people don't. He was rejected even when he went back home. So our promise is that Elijah will return before the day of the law relationship with in Israel. Now Elijah returned in the form of John the Baptist. Now Jesus also said that he must suffer first. So Elijah coming first, and Jesus gonna suffer first. So he gonna suffer first before he died. So but I tell you that Elijah had come, and they have done to him everything they wish, just as it is written about him. Because see, John gonna get prosecuted, um, his head gonna get cut off, because he preached something to Herodias, that's the woman, she was married, and then she divorced her husband and married his brother. And so John's telling her, that's wrong what you're doing. You need to repent. That's wrong what you're doing. She didn't want here, and she hold a grudge on John for a long time until there was the right time. Her daughter's birthday, and had her daughter to request his head on the plow. So Jesus already had predicted that he will, be practical. See, that's what Jesus keep on telling his disciples. Y'all gonna serve, y'all gonna die with pain and suffering, just like Jesus did. So he let them know, if you keep on following what I'm doing, you will be prosecuted, beaten, and everything else because of Jesus. Now Jesus Messiah, the Son of Man, who will be given authority over the world. So Jesus is the light of the world. He given authority over the world with face betrayal. He gonna be betrayal, in death. And Elijah glorified here, John the Baptist symbol of Elijah's return. So Jesus declared the greatest man ever born was assassinated through manipulation by Herod. That was that woman. She wanted John dead because she hold a grudge because he told her it was wrong for you to marry with your brother. Your husband brother. So Jesus transfigured as white as snow, and he brought along Peter, James, and John. Also had Elijah and Moses as witness. And Jesus had told them, don't tell no one anything. Don't tell nobody nothing because you have to wait until it happens. Because right now they can't tell nobody because they don't understand. They don't understand. Jesus said when that time comes, then you're going to understand. You're going to understand everything that's going on. So we talk about Hezman had released 7 more houses. That was good. 17 more. But we still going to keep on praying for them to release some Americans. So we also talk about the Eliminating Voting Rights Act in Section 2. And voting acts, voter rights act is our main thing, that we need. So I had requested voting rights act to remain because we need that. That needs to be established. It needs to be established because now we need voting rights act to remain. So all African Americans have the right to vote and not be denied. It's gonna be hard for them hard for us to vote. It's gonna be hard, to try to sue. So I request voting rights act to remain. Remain, and it needs to be established all over, and this is for all across the nation, for voting rights act to remain and be established for all African Americans, to have the right to vote. So, and we just talk about Jesus. Jesus preparing his way for his death. So he brought 3 of his disciples with him for witness, and also had Elijah and Moses for witness. So his disciples. So his disciples can write the story, but they can't write the story until after the event happened. So that's why he was telling the disciples, giving them input on a whole lot of stuff, because he needs them to be writing this story. They wrote the story in the Bible. You got more. All of them got different stories. All of it's the same, but they wrote it different. So that's all the word and news I have for you tonight. Y'all have a blessed, safe night, and I see y'all on the next video.